I like swinging in a chair. Graham, thanks.
Hello.
That sounded like I was being AI driven, the very slight pause between your first and last name for a second. Like when you hear sports commentators, like remember old sports commentators in like the PlayStation and PlayStation 2 era where it was very, very disconnected?
Mm.
Graham, thanks. For the Should I Play This Game podcast for the 23rd of September 2024, episode 307. Like that.
Mm.
Was I a convincing robot?
Nah.
Fuck. Oh, and I ruined the monetization again. Shit! On fire. Are you laughing about the prospect of us getting monetized?
No, yeah, that'd be.
Yo, that'd be. Oh. Here is a check for $2. Yes.
I think that'd be too much.
Split between us. Take out the costs and YouTube's fee. 56 cents each. Yes. How's Tricks?
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Nothing has changed. Nothing much has changed. Yep.
Oh, fuck me. I saw in the wild a actual for reals neckbeard on Saturday. Like,
Okay.
dude would have been, and not 60 or 70, right? Literally all of this part of his face, like his face part, shaved, just leaving hair on his neck, like legitimate, literal neckbeard. And he looked like an angry fucker too. Which holds true to the stereotype, I guess.
Mm.
It was weird. Anyway. Is that the preamble done? We're going to start talking about video games?
I think so, because.
Neckbeard!
Alright, let's do.
Is that a title?
Probably.
Oh, hey, look, what a shock!
Yeah, funny enough. Yeah, I've been playing this a bit. I hadn't played it for months because I was waiting for 1.0, so I have sort of doing a bit of a catch up. So we did a sort of a recheck out of this after 1.0's come out, released.
That's what we should have called it, recheck out.
About a week and a bit now it's been out, I think. Was it Monday, Tuesday?
We did it last weekend.
Yeah, no, that for the game itself.
Oh,
the
right.
Update,
yes,
the update
sorry.
was Tuesday. I think it was Tuesday when it came out at 1.0. So
something like that.
It's been out for nearly a week. Currently, just episode 25 of Solar Factory will go up probably Wednesday or Wednesday. Got that already up, ready to go up. We did the checkout on the weekend or last weekend, and I mean that 1.0 release is a massive difference from what I was playing in early access on the 8 version 0.8 update. The graphical fidelity is just very impressive now, massively off the charts. From my experience, the frame rate is massively improved. Like I was getting, not do a good shot on screen because the way it was, but it's 80 frames, 80 most times fairly consistent 80 frames. And whereas before you'd see a bit of the hitching that had happened, that's completely, from my perspective, gone completely.
They're on Unreal 5, aren't they?
Yeah, they are now. Then even as a part of this, I think they went to Unreal 5.3. I think I read.
So they've got the lumens and all the fucking.
They have it in there, but they don't technically officially support it. So you can turn it on, but if it causes issues and stuff like that, they sort of aren't quote unquote fixing the issues, kind of thing. So yeah, so they do have it on, and some stuff you can make it look bloody impressive. Like it's got a day-night cycle of a sorts in that game, and there are some effects when you have the sort of the sunlight coming up, and it just looks damn good. So so it's a really impressive looking game at this point. So yeah, I mean I've only just started to get back into the tier 9 stuff that we sort of looked at briefly in the checkout. The factory's basically up and running again as it was. It took me probably taking me 10 hours to fix. Ultimately, from when all the things broke and all of the biggest issue was in the past when they've moved resource nodes. If you had a miner on a resource node and they moved it, that resource node would still function if it was there until you actually did something with that miner. Like if you then dismantled the miner, you couldn't then put it back again, sort of thing. But the node would still function if it was there to give you time to realize what they'd done, fix, get it working. But in this particular release, the node just disappeared on me, and it just stopped. And I didn't realize that until quite late into replaying it again or getting back into it. So yeah, a bunch of stuff just stopped working effectively.
Yeah, it did.
So yeah, so I think I've got most of it back up and running now. It's taking a while to get things on, but yeah, it's basically there. So now I'm sort of now starting to plan out the tier 9 stuff and start building stuff for that phase 5 of the space elevator thing that we sort of briefly looked at in the checkout. So yeah, I mean I'm now moved on to, I'm now actually switched over to the Steam version. So
yeah, I thought I saw you. Did you rebuy it, or did it just?
I've had it. I got it in a Humble bundle years ago.
Oh,
That was in a Humble bundle. God, it would have been sometime during the pandemic that they put out a bundle of what the bundles they do, where they just put in.
They put out multiple big fuck off like incredible bundles during
like
the
500 or 600 games in the bundle kind of thing. Just go, okay, I'll grab that, and for the $50 I paid for it, I got a crap load of games, but just that one was one of them. I was like, okay, I don't really mind that, but yeah.
Was the transfer of the save easy enough, or did it just hit a server?
Literally just copy and paste it.
Oh hey, Defender's just done a summary.
Oh, excellent.
That was good of it.
Yeah. Yeah, so I just literally copied the actual save files from the Epic Game Store location to the Steam one, and it was all there. So even though I've got literally no time in Steam as playing the game.
Oh man, what if they look at your our account, look at your actual factory, and go, "This motherfucker's cheating."
But yeah, so there's no time in the actual game in Steam as far as I've played it. But the save game's got the 1,670 hours or whatever it is that I've played it.
I've got a bookmark page for Game Pass saves, transferring them for Steam. So
yeah. So that's a lot of what I'm playing. As you can imagine, I was playing up until that release, Sumerian 6, the Mimi game that came out about a month ago, a bit under.
September 2nd.
September 2nd. I'm still really enjoying it. I will get back to it, but it's basically on hold until I sort of play at my satisfactory playthrough and get it to some point where I'm happy to put it aside for a bit. But I think I got through to the fifth mission. I think those missions
There's
are a
like
lot
10,
longer.
isn't there?
I think there's maybe a dozen. I think, not too sure the exact count. The thing that's interesting about like those missions are way longer than the ones in Shadow Gambit. They are way more involved, and you've got multiple paths to it. So they're taking like the way that I play them. They're taking 2 to 3 hours each mission to play and finish. So I'm playing them in basically 2 sittings. I'll start it, get a bit to a point, go, right, I'm happy to stop here, and I'll save it, then come back, and then I'll finish it, then do the same thing again or the next one. So
do you have times where you come back and you go, "What the fuck was I meant to be doing here?"
No, they're fairly straightforward as to they're fairly linear, each one of them. So
see those Nazis.
Basically, that's essentially it. I mean, it might be that when I go back to it this time, it could have been nearly a month since I played it, so I might forget some of that stuff, but yeah, not ultimately. New game for us, but a game we've been keeping an eye on for quite some time is the Plucky Squire. I only played about an hour of this today.
Yes, I saw that pop up and something else, and I'm like, "Oh, you motherfucker!"
So I've played about an hour and a half of Plucky Squire. this game is fucking phenomenal. Which we've been watching this game's development for what, a couple of years now at least. We've been keeping an eye on the various things about it. So you play as this little guy in the middle, Jot.
That's right.
And
Couldn't remember
he's
what his
the
fucking
plucky
name was.
squire.
Do they explain the pluckiness or his squireness?
Other than him just being not per se, but yes, if they don't expressly say he's called the
Okay.
plucky squire because of this.
He's Jot, and he's plucky.
Well, let's just say he's very successful when he does these adventures. He's very good at them, so that's kind of where it comes from. So the game has, let me think, 1, 2, 3 kind of play styles, I guess. And I'll see if the screenshots show them. So
Because there's the 3D stuff.
there's the 3D stuff. So you can. So basically, the game is basically on a book, and we'll see if we can get one of these there. Mega.
Whoop, you broke it.
Break it that one. Wait a second. Dun, dun. So you can see there's the book. So you're basically playing through a book, and you've got just this top-down view. You've got a basic attack and a basic dodge. You can also, with that little sword, you can see in the screen up there, you can throw it and it will take out enemies on the way.
Is that used for puzzles like in Zelda?
Hasn't been used so far. I'll get to puzzle
Okay.
stuff in a bit, but hasn't been used so far. And if it goes into an object, it stacks in the object, and you have to press the retrieve key to get it back again, sort of thing. So you've got that.
That's cool.
So it's really neat. You've got a dodge as well. There are. I'll just see if I'll come back to that in a moment. Oh, that's the other term too. There's that sort of. There's like 3 or 4 different ways the game presents the various. So you can see in the top screen there we've got these little bushes up here.
Yeah, you sawed them.
If you saw them, they'll reveal these like essentially light bulbs, and they're the currency for upgrading your gear. So you can basically pick up that, and there's a merchant that appears in various places along the way, and you can buy. The most recent one I got was that sword throw that I just mentioned. When you first did it, it only would throw once and hit one enemy. Now it throws and goes through multiples, so that's the kind of upgrade you can do. But the thing that is the way in which this game.
Hang on. Go back a couple to that drum. That.
Yeah, so that's how he looks.
Next one over.
Next one over. Or was it that one? Yeah. Haven't had that method yet. Like
that looks fucking. Oh my god.
The many different ways this game has you playing as the character is just phenomenal, and it is so like that one here. Like this
Wait,
is
that looks like Punch Out.
Yeah, basically that's what it is.
Oh, sweet!
It's exactly what it is. So he's in the very early. He's like that's the very first quote unquote boss you're up against. And it's basically
Punch Out.
So it's basically Punch Out. So you start in the book, and then you can. I don't know if there's going to be any screenshots that have it. But when you're in the book format, you have these little. I'm not seeing any. No, they haven't got any. So on the book layout like this, there's a little little squirrely green thing, and by walking up to that and holding down, I'm playing with the controller. You hold down the Y button on the controller, and that takes you out of the book form into the 2D. This sort of play like. That's a cutscene. That's a cutscene, that for sure. But
yeah, I was gonna say that looks very much like that Zelda 2 reboot.
Yeah,
and
so
the
that's
upcoming Zelda.
Yeah, so this one here, more in line with.
They narratively explain all this shit, right?
Oh, they narratively explain what you're able to do, why you're able to do it, and you're the only one who can do it. You're going along with a couple of friends, who are called Thrash and Violet, and they are great characters. Basically, yeah, that's exactly why he's called that.
Yep.
And
really?
Yeah, basically, yeah, he's a metal.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a metal dude. Yep.
Fuck yeah.
And the other one that's not in the cover art is there's a guy called Moonbeard, and he's like the wizard of the game. Um, I think he might be one of my characters of the year. He'll be character of the year nomination because he's just really, really cool. Yeah, and he just helps you along bits and pieces and tells you the story. But yeah, the way that the game just seemingly goes from this. Oh, there's the Moonbeard. There he is, right there in the middle. There he is there,
Hmm.
that blue. Yep. Um, so the way that game just changes from the 2D art like this to the 3D stuff is just so seamlessly. It's brilliant. And the first time you sort of see it, there's a section early on in the game where Jot and his friends are walking sort of right to left, or left to right across the book. And the pages actually open up, so when you walk off the screen, off the book, the pages flip over,
Yeah.
and then you just walk up in the next section. It's just brilliantly done. I mean, it is just brilliantly done. So yeah, so there's a bit where there's some rocks falling down the book, so to speak, but they start outside of the book. They go into the book and then come out of the bottom of the book as rocks, and the effect is just brilliant. It is so good.
Does anyone in this world like look around and go, "Where the fuck are these rocks coming from?"
Not at that point, but they sort of do. They still just
Okay.
they just think that's who they are. They don't see the book. They don't see the stuff outside the book. They're in the book, so they just see rocks falling down in front of them.
Mm.
We as the player as whatever can see the outside of the book as
Yeah.
well, if that makes sense. So they don't. I don't think they perceive anything outside the book, if that makes sense. Um, but it's just part of the story of that particular time. It made sense these rocks were going to fall, which makes fine. But you get a sense of what this game's going to do at that point when you start seeing the rocks literally pop out of the book and then keep falling down the desk that the book's sitting on.
Mm.
It's yeah, it's there's been so many just moments where I'm just going, this is just brilliantly done. The story is really quite good. There's no voice acting; it's all reading dialogue. Um, and the dialogue is actually pretty good. Like it's really the writing's really quite good. Um, but just the way, as I said, the way that it cuts. Oh, there's one there. That little green squirrely thing there, right
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
So you walk up to that, you hold the button, and that pops you out of this book mode into the 3D realm. You can then walk around. So, for example, I don't know if it's in this screenshot in here, and that's how you do the puzzles. Now, there's no puzzle stuff actually in this, but puzzles play a big part of it. Um, and so far, they've all been word puzzles. So on the ground would be a phrase or a sentence, and one of them was like the other one was this the characters walk up the bottom, like in the spine, so to speak, up from the middle, and in front of them there's this big bug, and it's covering the entire path, so that it's blocking their path.
Mm.
And then below them, basically, this says words on the screen, not dialogue, it's just on the environment, so to speak. Something like a huge bug blocks their path. The words that effect.
Well, there's a screenshot here that's got goblins ambled across.
Yeah, so that might not be
That one.
sort of like that,
Ambled
but
ahead, sorry.
that's how it's presented. What
Yeah.
you can do with that is one of those words in the puzzles, one of those words can be actually picked up and taken out of the sentence. So when this,
And then it changes the nature of what happens on the page.
well, when you put the other word in, yes, that's the puzzle part
Yeah.
of it. There could be multiple sentences on the page or in the environment you're in at the moment. As I said, they don't show that off in any of these screenshots. No, no. But what you said there, for example, that one I had before, like there was multiple parts to it, but actually you can actually pick up the word off the thing. You hold it above your head, then you can walk into that little scrolly thing, and then you pop into the 3D world, and you still carry the word above your head. Then you walk across the book and walk into another scrolly thing that puts you back in the book to then drop the word and pick up another word to then sort of swap it around, and basically
Mm.
using that mechanic you can then change what happens in front of you.
Yeah.
And basically, that particular one ends up you changing it from the word huge to the word tiny, and when you do that, the
Just
thing
walk
blocks
around
and
it.
shrinks down to the side, and you can walk away and walk past it. So that just the puzzle mechanics from that are just really neat. Um, Sort of similar to that, this thing here hasn't been any gameplay like that so far that I've played, but that's obviously to come at some point. Um, in the 3D stuff, you've also can have the same little swirly bits can be like on a box that might be in the room.
Mm.
So you just sort of walk up to it and do the Y thing to jump into the environment, and you're now in a 2D space on the 3D. If that makes sense. Like it's very much like
Yeah.
Super Mario Odyssey from a couple of years back. That kind of concept where you sort of go into that 2D space. Then you sort of use that to traverse a bit, then pop out of it, and you then end up in another part of the 3D area. Um, there hasn't been anything more than that so far in that sort of mechanic, but as I said, like it's got so many different parts to it. Like obviously at some point I'm going to be holding an arrow and shooting this sort of stuff happening, which would be some sort of boss, I suspect. But this was the first boss, and it was basically just he was a honey badger, and you just punch out style, you hit him, and his health top right goes down, and yours goes down if you hit him. You got a couple of quick time events, like it says dodge, and you dodge it, and you miss getting hit, sort of thing. So it's just got all these different types of style of 2D platformer, 3D platformer, puzzle stuff, and the way that it integrates and seamlessly slips between the two, or all of them,
Mm.
is just superb. And you can see by the art style, it is really, really nice.
Mm.
It's just clean, it's colourful. Um, I cannot rate and highly recommend this game to anybody who likes this stuff. I mean, it's not going to be for everybody, of course, but the way that the game plays is way better than I ever thought it could possibly be, if
Mm.
that makes sense. From all the stuff that I'd seen, I saw some stuff at last year's PAX about it, and it's been around, it's been on the cards for a couple of years now. This thing, but yeah, it is one of the best games I've played clearly this year, and
Mm.
even in a more many recent years as well. It is just brilliantly done. So yeah, highly recommend it to anybody who likes that all those genres being mixed together.
Mm.
It is really really good.
That hypercube in the background's freaking me out. That old dude sitting on that like cube next to the pencil house.
Oh there.
Yeah. No, move your mouse a little bit higher and to the left.
Oh there you mean. Okay.
That thing. That
Yeah.
oh, it's freaking me out, man.
Yeah. No, it is a phenomenal game.
Mm.
It's not cheap. It's about
44 on Steam.
yeah, it's on sale, which you kind of expected to be for. Um,
No, it didn't have a launch sale on Steam.
I thought it did. Oh no, it didn't. No, you're right. Yeah, so it's $44 currently, but it does. You can add it at a DLC pack and get the soundtrack, which I've not hasn't been particularly standoutish, but I'm only early on, so
Mm.
it might sort of become more prominent later on. There's a digital art book as well, which I think would be quite impressive. They've done one, so it's come out on Wednesday, so they've been a couple of like 3 or 4 days. They've had
Mm.
one update to it to pick a couple of little things with it, but I've not had any issues, you know, crashing performance or anything like that. So yeah, it is phenomenal. It's just an absolutely brilliant game. Um, and my last game is only just briefly looked at this. We did a checkout of this back in early July, I think it was. Yeah, it was early July,
Mm.
which was a demo of this. All I wanted to see was how did the game actually start versus what we did in the demo, just to see
Yep.
where it was different. And it is a lot different because you know the main character, which is her.
Mm.
The game actually starts in a freaking spaceship.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, and you're basically bit of a the same sort of 3D running around bit that we saw in the demo.
Wait, have you even said the name of the game yet?
Yeah, sorry, Caravan Sandwich for those listening on
There we go.
the podcast. Yeah, so it's basically I think when we started the demo, it sort of started at someone's house in that environment that we sort of whatever was, I don't know what the name of the area is called now. So basically, I think the start of the game leads up to that point. I haven't got there yet, but it'll lead up to that same point when the demo kicked off. Yeah, not much more to say. Just saying, I will get into that because I think that game has a lot. It has a lot to go for it. I think that one.
It's also reportedly quite short, or
Wouldn't be surprised.
short-ish for.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's going to be a long game. I
Mm.
think going back to Plucky Squire, I think that could be relatively short as well. I'm not too sure about that one, but yeah. Anyway, not that it really matters, but
You have any interest in getting into UFO 50 at all?
I've seen it, but I've not done it. Bought it yet? I might look at it. I'm not too sure.
Looking roughly 10-ish hours
Yeah,
for
so
the Plucky Squire, reportedly.
relatively shortish, I guess you could say. But,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, I've only literally less than 10 minutes just to jump in and just see how it started versus what the demo did. It was different, so I'll get back to it at some point and yeah, play that game because I think that looks really interesting. That game. But that's it for me. That's it for my 4 games. So back to your stuff. I'll do that one.
Hey, so I've started playing Angerfoot, which is basically an incredibly obnoxious Hotline Miami in a lot of the best ways. Like the music it's very intense. It's almost pervasive and almost unbearable. And it's very driving, like bum to bum to bum to bum to bum. When like you're in the action moments. Once you've taken care of all the enemies in the room, it's fine. It tones down, and then it ramps back up once you kick a door open and you start kicking or shooting enemies again. So apparently your name is Angerfoot. You are this balaclava wearing dude that's in the key art. You are in shit city where crime is encouraged. And some mysterious group of motherfuckers took your fancy shoes and you're trying to get them back. So you get them back by booting in doors and booting in people. And it's got if you were to take Plucky Squire and maybe amp up the drugs and the insanity and put it in a first person, it's very, very colorful in its presentation, but it's very sort of exaggerated, but there's also like a weird, like it feels like this game, if you were to wipe your finger across it, you would just have drugs all over your finger and it would seep into your bloodstream and you might overdose. It's like that, but I only really play it for about half hour at a time because it is very much a...
Do you like it?
I really like it.
Okay.
Yeah, I really like it. The Hotline Miami-ness definitely comes through. You die super quickly.
Yeah.
And part of it is because you're dying super quickly. That's why I say I only play it for half hour periods at a time, because after a while it's run, dead, fuck, and just keep going.
Yeah.
And that cycle repeats until you figure out your way through. There's some really weird esoteric challenges in the levels. Some of them are finish this level in 5 seconds. And it's like, how the fuck do you do that? There's been a couple where finish the level completely using your foot. Speed run challenges. There was at least one where it's complete the level without jumping, which I nearly figured out how to do it without a unlock. And then I got to a part where I just couldn't get it to work. So you do some of those challenges, you do have to unlock different shoes to come back and actually make them work. I was getting a lot of most of the challenges early on. Now I'm just doing the ones that I really want to do. The speed run ones are fucked, like hard. And like one of them, so there's energy drinks there's bottles of beer, and at least at this point, I've run into little lizards on the wall that make you trip out.
Mhm.
Energy drinks make you go like absolutely bonkers and just move really, really quickly. The bottles of beer make you drunk, and like there's challenges tied to that.
Mm.
And in order to do some of the speedrun challenges, you are like literally having to pound like as many energy drinks as you can find just to absolutely blitz through.
Mm.
I really like it. Yeah, there's not much more to say about it outside of it's got a really interesting, I guess, attitude and framing. And you just walk up like you'll get a couple of little interstitial levels where you can walk up and talk to people in the level, and then you can just kick them, and they die. Yeah, it's really. I think you would drive yourself nuts trying to play it more than an hour though, just because of how much is like, like that. That's actually what I was about to say was after 65 hours, I'm done with Ghost of Tsushima, but that's not entirely true because there is still the Legends mode I want to check out. I really like, so anyone who knows anything about Japan knows that it's a society and it's a culture that very much has roots in tradition. And very much embraces tradition and sort of is a much more conservative country as far as like social progression, social politics, things like that. Even more so when you go back to this sort of samurai era. I really like how much Jin Sakai, who's the main character, he will question some of that, but also embrace some of it. Where he's like, he'll embrace the tradition without desperately clinging to it. Whereas sometimes you get people going, that you acted without honor because I snuck up behind a dude and stuck him with a knife or a sword. Or because I mass poisoned a bunch of Mongols. They're like, that's without honor. You're a monster. And it's like, dog, you're about to fucking kill a bunch of our people. What are you doing? He's just sort of about like, fuck your old shit. We got to do things sometimes a little differently. So I ended up, because it's a director's cut, it has the DLC that came out for the original Ghost of Tsushima embedded in it. You don't have to pay extra for that. I'd finished the main game Thursday or Friday, and then I marathoned the DLC across like 10 hours on Saturday, across 2 sessions. And I seemed to hit a memory leak because I sat back down at about 3 o'clock on Saturday Arvo, and I got up at about 10:30 that night. And after about 4 or 5 hours, I started noticing some real weird stutters and frame rate dips and things like that. That has been used to be really stuttery after about an hour or two. So it seems to have been improved. So like I said, I finished it. The DLC seemed a little bit less technically refined and perhaps a little less optimized than the main game because I was getting way more studies in way more places. Now, whether that's a function of the quote-unquote memory leak or whatever issue was having, or it's just a function of that DLC, because the Resident Evil 4 remake DLC was an example of this as well, where the DLC content was a little bit technically sloppier than the main game. I don't know if that's a function of that or if it's something else. The DLC relies really heavily on hallucination as a narrative trope, which I don't like as much. Like Max Payne did a bunch of it, and I didn't really dig it there either. And some of the side stuff they have you doing in that DLC is a little bit more gimmicky. Like there's a section where you're tilting so I was using the DualSense on the PC to play it. Because I like the way in which the Sony games on PC make use of the DualSense. And you were tilting the controller to maintain a tone on your flute when you're playing to animals. And there's about 4 or 5 statues, I guess, in the environment in the DLC, which are like like language-based riddles. And you unlock PlayStation cosmetics or PlayStation, I guess, iconic is not a great term, but whatever. Cosmetics. So there's like a Bloodborne themed colorway to one of your armor sets. There's a Horizon one. There's a God of War one. I can't remember the other couple. And you had to wear the right combination of armor and do an action. So I had to look a couple of them up because they didn't quite make immediate sense to me. The last couple I ended up getting, I think the last one or two I ended up getting myself. But the first couple I needed a bit of help with. But 65 hours. I still, like I said, I still want to try and dig into the Legends mode a little bit and see what's there. It is not the easy platinum that Horizon or God of War are. There's a trophy for finishing it in New Game Plus. I think you have to get all of the banners in the environment to get all the collectible achievements, and there's a lot of achievements tied to the Legends mode. But I really, really dug it. Like, they're not the exact same game. I want to get this out of the way right now. But comparing this to Dragon's Dogma, two things. One, Dragon's Dogma didn't, at least to me, didn't seem to understand the importance of rise and fall. Like, every 5 seconds, you would step across a gang of monsters that were trying to kill you. Whereas this, sometimes there are just times where you're just like casually riding your horse across the environment. Before you run into a gang of Mongols. And like one thing that people were like bitching at me about when I put the discussion comment or question on for Dragon's Dogma 2 was they're like, oh, you didn't go explore everywhere. I was like, okay, you didn't give me a reason to go explore everywhere, or didn't tell me that, or didn't signpost when the game was going to end, for example. Whereas like here, I almost felt more of a reason because it was like, okay, if I put this icon on the map, I can then follow it and get there. The map design works a little bit better, and it's a little bit more directive, I guess, or can be more directive than Dragon's Dogma 2. Because sometimes, even if you don't put a pin down, or you don't mark a like question mark in the environment, if you're just picking a direction and going, if you're coming up on something that can be unlocked, this yellow bird will fly down and sort of guide you to it.
I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen that in the videos.
Which is really, really, that's a really cool way of basically, unless, if you're not an idiot like me and you don't constantly go into the map to highlight the next thing to go and do, if you just want to pick a direction and go, you can do, and the bird will sort of guide you. There's an achievement for doing all of the stories in both the main game and the DLC. I missed the achievement for the main game one because I missed one 5-minute side mission. I just didn't happen to stumble across it in the main game. I'm like, you motherfucker. And there was once I finished the DLC, it sort of just and then it showed everything I hadn't done, which was one hot spring.
Okay.
So outside of some of the more environmental collectibles, and like there's this armor you can wear where you can set the navigating wind to find all the undiscovered collectibles as well. Which I made use of when I finished the main game for a few of them. I'm not doing the banners because there's just way more of them. But I fucking really enjoyed this. Character model wise, you can tell it's a PlayStation 4 game. I think I said this when we've talked about it in the past. But environmentally, it fucking looks fantastic. Like you talked about the sunrises and things like that in what game were you talking about? I think Satisfactory. Yeah. And this has a really good photo mode where at the drop of a hat, even like in sometimes you'll sit down at a spot to write a haiku and you can just press the photo mode and it'll just automatically drop all the prompts that are on the screen and you just take the photo and set it up how you want. So now I've got like 15 or 20 like wallpapers for the computer that are basically just photos. I was like, I'm the best feudal Japanese era photographer ever. But yeah, I really dug it. I think it's cool. And I noticed you bought it.
I have, because they did a Sony did a sale.
That they did. PlayStation
like
publisher sale on Steam last weekend.
On stuff last weekend. So well, you probably won't get much cheaper than that. So I'll just bug it. I'll grab it. It was on my list to get, but I wasn't really sure I wanted to pay $95 $500 for it, but I ended up paying like 75 or 80. So
70 odd.
Yeah, something like that. So that's a price I'm willing to pay for a game like that I know is highly regarded, and yeah, you've been impressed by it. I think I'll be okay with it. I don't think it's Souls-like enough that I'm going to be annoyed by it. So I think it's probably more closer.
And I think there are like most of the PlayStation games, the accessibility and difficulty options are such in that you can do some stuff to make it more manageable.
More manageable for me. So that's what I thought. I mean, it's a punt worth taking, I think. So.
Put it this way: pretty much all of my deaths came from me jumping off cliffs that were too high.
Oh, okay.
Like I died maybe a couple of times in combat because I was being sloppy and not paying attention to my health. But yeah, most of my deaths were through misadventure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I can jump down from here, it'll be fine. Puh! Nope. Oh, it's on this screen. So, to provide a bit of context for my process, I'm an idiot and buy a lot of games because, I don't know. It is what it is. And then, because of the way I play games, I tend to wait about 6 to 8 weeks roughly until after launch, both from this is the time it's going to take me to get through some of the stuff I've got, and also it helps for patches to work their way through.
Mm-hmm.
We've discussed my lack of preference for playing games at launch because they tend to be broken or not particularly as well optimized as they could.
Mm-hmm.
And then I work my way through by release date. I don't know. My head's weird. So I spent a bit of time basically fucking with some things. This is going somewhere, I promise. I spent some time like fucking around with a few things to figure out, okay, I'm pretty close to finishing Ghosts at the time when I was doing this, and I have since obviously finished Ghost of Tsushima.
Mm-hmm.
Angerfoot is hour at a time, and it's fairly simplistic story-wise.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, what's next? What's my next thing? So I have, like I said, bought a bunch of fucking games, sometimes in early access, sometimes on launch, because I want to support the industry, because I'm a weirdo. Kaku, Ancient Seal, was a game that I thought looked great in trailers and stuff on the Steam store when it was early access. Sort of has a 3D Zelda vibe to it, at least visually. And then I started playing it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is in way harsher than I'm intending it to sound, but it feels like budget Zelda.
Mm-hmm.
Both in presentationally, so the way in which the story elements are communicated to you, but like where there's a language, but it seems like they're just repeating the same 8 sounds and then putting subtitles on the screen.
Okay.
And even that looks a little cheap. And then just playing it doesn't feel as like, sometimes describing feel other than good or bad is a little bit tough. I don't think it feels particularly good.
Mm-hmm.
It was okay enough, and like, yeah, I could keep playing it, but like I said, I'm an idiot and I buy a lot of games. So I'm like, I don't want to like spend time playing this when I've got other things I want to play. So there is one awesome thing about this game, and it's a unicorn piglet that has ears like Dumbo. And it's fucking phenomenal. And Kaku, who's this guy is actually both characters in the key art, but mainly this guy. He's chasing this flying piglet, who's, I think, you come to find out his name is Piggy.
Mm-hmm.
They really stretch themselves on the naming convention there.
Mm-hmm.
You're chasing that, you run into this old guy, and he's like, hey, go fucking find me some materials to fix this pot. Okay, fine, I'll fix this pot for you. And now you can cook food. Great. Oh, there's elements, and you have a slingshot, and you can shoot the slingshot. Okay, great. There's no bullet drop on the slingshot. It feels pretty... A lot of this stuff feels like it came from PlayStation 2. Mm-hmm. It's just gussied up and sort of 4K'd in its presentation. Which in and of itself isn't a bad thing.
I'm getting Kona. That Kona.
Sort of yeah, there's Kena vibes. Definitely, yeah. I could see that.
That's what I'm sort of getting from just looking at it on Steam at the moment, and that's what I'm sort of getting.
Dime Store Kena.
Yeah. Does look pretty neat. It does look nice. I like the look of it.
And that's the annoying part. Like, in motion, it looks nice, but playing it doesn't feel great. like one example of one of the biggest and weirdest examples to me is that the sprint button and the pickup button are the exact same.
Oh, okay.
So when you pick up something, you know how like you'll move around an area to pick stuff up?
Mm.
Yeah, you do that and you're hitting the button to pick stuff up, but then you start sprinting.
Mm.
And it's just awkward.
Mm.
It's a shame because I like the concept, like I like the way it looks, and it probably is better than I'm giving it credit for once I maybe get into it a bit further, but I don't want to spend the time to get into it further when there are so many other things I want to play.
Mm.
Which harsh, but hey, sometimes I'm a harsh person.
Mm.
Shut up, Graham.
Didn't say anything.
Hey?
Didn't say anything.
I was demonstrating my harshness, Graham. Shut the fuck up. Fallen Leaf is another game I was playing as part of this. What's next?
Mm-hmm.
I actually really, really dig this. Very 8-bit Nintendo style in its presentation. Kind of pretty Mega Man-ish, but you're not holding down the button to charge a shot. And you largely play as Leaf. I'm pretty sure his name is purely Leaf because in the actual game, his hair looks like a leaf. So again, they thought it was really hard. You've got your sister. She has and you can change on the fly using the triggers.
Mm-hmm.
Your sister has a wasp that flies with her, and the wasp will shoot an additional projectile when she shoots because you've got these. It's like a bracelet almost, or like a pauldron almost that can shoot projectiles.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll find like items in the environment that make you more powerful, but then if you get hit once, you lose it all.
Mm-hmm.
So again, that Mega Man 8-bit Nintendo style. I unlocked a different character to add to the party. I think it's either Pauline because she's like a cat lady, like Pawline.
Mm-hmm.
And she moves really fast, and her attack moves really fast, but it's super short range. And I didn't really like her very much, but either way. But the weird part for me was the first world took me 2.5 hours. It was like 15 stages.
Mm.
So fair, like a bit more substantial than I thought. I was like, how many fucking levels are there in this thing? But like I really enjoyed playing it. I think playing it, much like any game of this type, again, it's that sort of hour at a time. I think if you try and play too much, you burn yourself out on it. And trying to play, like normally with these sorts of games, I'll try and play through a world at a time. I don't think it works as well on this one because of how long they are. But I really like the way in which it pays homage to the 8-bit style games of like the Nintendo Entertainment System, the Master System, all that sort of stuff. It sort of replicates that music a little bit in a way that's kind of, yeah, this is a bop. Oh, one thing I forgot to say about Ghost. It's one of the very few games I have played in the last few years where I almost never have a video on the second screen. Whereas almost everything else I'll play, I'll have a video or something else running in the background just for an additional level of noise. I didn't have that for Ghost because it was sometimes just nice to ride through a very quiet meadow on your horse and just vibe. And there's some fucked up moments in Ghost too, but I'm not going to reveal them now. That'll be for end of the year or game of the year. Yeah, Fallen Leaf, I'm really digging. I again tapped into boons and burdens, which actually, when you get into the game, it's actually quite literal. I saw this on Steam at some point, and I was like, "Yo, it looks like Vampire Survivors," and it kind of is. It's a dual joy. So, unlike Vampire Survivors and games in the arse genre, the auto shooting survival genre, this does not shoot automatically.
Okay.
It's a twin. You use the right stick to aim and shoot. So there's an arena, and I can't remember what the other version's called, but the other mode is kind of like Enter the Gungeon.
Okay.
Where only a singular room, where it's you're using the right stick to shoot. You got a pea shooter, and eventually, after a while, you'll achieve a goal. The exit will open up, and you dive into the exit, and you go to the next environment. it's kind of fucked that mode's not as fun and a bit fucked though, because number one, you start off with this pea shooting piece of shit, like wand, because you're basically a wizard. Now you can be, I think, ice, fire, electricity, and earth.
So pretty
Which,
standard.
if you're gonna have a green wizard and it's earth, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why is it not poison? Number one. But number two, yeah, you get these pea shooting little wands that they do fuck all damage. And then in between levels, you pick up what are called burdens, which are both your goal for the level and also like debuffs that you have to struggle through. And then you can pick up boons, which are like perks at the end of a level as well. But you're buying them based on the currency that drops in the level.
Mm.
And I'm like, I gave that a couple of goes. I'm like, I'm not digging this. And then I tried the arena, which is kind of a bit more arse-like in that, except it doesn't have the auto shooting. You're picking up gems, and as you fill up the bar, you get an upgrade, which is very much how like arse games are supposed to work.
Mm.
I enjoyed that way more than what seemed to be its main mode, because you didn't really get given enough materials or resources to really upgrade and become almost that unstoppable like destruction machine you can in games like that. And you don't really get the tools or the weapons to put like add some variety and actually make that progression in gameplay fun. The main mode, I wasn't digging just because how pea shootery and how grindy some of the resourcing requirements were. Like, in order to unlock a different wand or a different perk or whatever, I had to unlock a certain achievement. Now, what the requirements of that achievement were, I could look at the list and probably find out, but it's like, what the fuck? I didn't dig it. So I uninstalled that too. This might be my biggest bummer of the year so far. The Sacred Acorn. Developed by a team called A Few Dragons in Australia. I was super hopeful for this. It's got a really beautiful art style to it. And it's kind of somewhat of a mix between like top-down sort of Zelda game and almost a little bit of soulsiness to it in the combat. But holy fuck does it drop the ball in like 18 different ways. Like, really disappointingly too. So it's that top-down sort of tilt. I don't think it's actually tilt shift, but it's sort of that isometric tilt. Not pure isometric because that's more diagonally based. It's not pure top-down. It's like that three-quarter view. But it's only 8-way directional movement on an analog stick. So that feels really, really sloppy and lacks refinement. And there's a few spots where, like, there was a sort of maze of thorns I had to get to an item. And actually navigating that was really quite frustratingly difficult because, or not even difficult, it's just fucking annoying because there wasn't that precision in movement to actually get through it. Just made it more bothersome than it needed to be. There's a weird mix to the sound where some sound effects just like blow out to near distortion and some are ultra quiet. I was getting really annoyed at the music as well because, you know, sometimes where you have like cartoon characters move and it's almost like a squeaky foot on the floor.
Sort of.
Yeah, that was a common part of the music. That was like a actual feature and like a layer of track in the music. So every like, as you're playing, it'd just be, but not like a record scratch.
Okay.
It was like that weird squeaky noise. I'm like, what? Fucking what the fuck? It was like almost sending shivers down my spine. It was pissing me off. There were issues with collision detection or pickup detection, in that I would stand over an item, and you didn't have to press a button to pick up the items. You just run over them. But some of them wouldn't pick up until I did like 3 laps over them. So that was fucking weird. They tie navigation and the usage of the map in different screens to a randomly dropping currency. Like, not all, like, the little acorns, and not all enemies drop acorns when you kill them. So if you want to, there's like map tables in some of the screens. So if you want to use the map, you have to pay some of the acorns. If you want to like get a fucking tree branch out of the way, you have to pay some of them too. It's like, what the fuck? But it's the combat for me that really drops the ball because early on, no dodge, no nothing. It's literally you have a 2-hit thing, and you hit once or twice, and then the enemies will swing.
Mm.
But because there's no dodge, you're like, hit once or twice, run out of the way. Come back in, do it again, and repeat.
Mm.
I'm like, this is not great. And then you have like a 2-hit sort of combo, and there's like a full-blown second before you can do it again. So there's like annoying downtime between trying to attack, and sometimes it wasn't even that responsive. Like I'd hit the button to swing twice, it'd only swing once. I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? Like, I really wanted this game to be good. I mean it. Look at the cute little squirrel. And they fucked it up. God damn it. Anyway, I'm disappointed. I put a negative review. I only played it for... Steam's got me for 0.4 hours. I think it was maybe 20 minutes, half an hour. I hate writing reviews. And most reviews you see with that little playtime, you're like, you're just ranting and being a fuckwit. What are you... But I laid out all of those things in that negative review because I'm like, there's so many different levels of fuck to this that I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. Fuck this. So anyway, poor Sacred Acorn. You know how we've been stumbling across hex-based games that score you for adjacent building?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Terrascape is another one of those. And it's based on card decks or decks of cards that you get. And when you hit a certain point threshold, you get a new pack of cards. Mm-hmm. You get more buildings to place down, things like that. So it's yet another one of those because there's quite a few of those, and a lot of them have been quite good.
Mm.
This has a really nice sort of painted art style to it, like almost like a canvas painting. But when it comes to playing it, there's a level of complexity that I'm not looking for in a game like this. Like, I really enjoyed the times I've played Panorama on stream. And like sometimes when I've done it, it's literally just me looking at it for 40, 45 minutes and barely talking, which is not a great way to stream, but I just completely zone out and just like, click, click, click. Because it's just that like compelling and just like that fugue state, very like the cozy. This tries to do that, but adds a layer of complexity in that it wants you to combine the buildings in a certain way to create bigger buildings or like combined buildings. So like to make a longhouse, you have to lay out 3 or 4 cottages in a specific hexagonal pattern. Or like pattern based on the hex grid. That's probably the best way to put it. But then in order to do some of the more complicated ones, A, they're fucking complicated as far as like what items where. B, it wants you to put shit down sometimes and doesn't tell you how to do it, which of course in some ways it's about discovering that, fine. But then it's super pedantic about the actual ways in which you place the items in that pattern. Like I had one where it was, I think, to create a farm, and it was a well card in the middle, 4 wheat cards, and I think 2 or 3 cottages to make out the rest of it, the rest of the actual pattern. And I put it down, and no transformation happened. I'm like, what the fuck didn't I do? I literally moved over, did what I felt like was the exact same thing, and it worked.
Okay.
And I'm just like, what about this placement did I not do to make this work? And because of the way in which you can pan the camera and move the camera, obviously that's going to change your perspective of what the hexagon tile base looks like. And for it to work, to then combine and make these buildings, but you to know where the actual buildings are meant to go to make these buildings, I was just like, what the fuck? It doesn't have that inherent latent simplicity of a panorama, which makes that so much more interesting and so much more engaging to play. And there's another one, a very similar one called, I think, Land Above, Sea Below, which I've had for a bit, and I'm wanting to try it on stream, but I haven't found a good time to do it because of all the different things I keep dabbling in and stuff like that. But Panorama, oh, people should play that. That's fucking great. Anyway, my last game. Nobody Wants to Die, Graham. How do I describe this? Number one, it's fucking gorgeous. It's fucking beautiful. Like from a technical perspective, it looks really, really great. Lighting effect. It's very like mostly realistic in the way it's presented. So it's not that cartoony, like gorgeous that Plucky Spire is. It's very much a, I guess, not polygonally modeled, but like that sort of deal. It's got some fantastic voice acting, and holy shit, is it fucking noir as fuck. Like the inner monologue that the player character has, they just basically lifted Humphrey Bogart from the fucking 1950s, throw that bitch out, and goes, here you go, you're in a now cybernetic future, solve a crime, bitch. So, and because it's obviously a noir story, it's set in like a sort of dystopian, quote unquote, future. So this dystopia is set up where you can pay money to transfer your consciousness into a new body.
Okay.
Which apparently seems to cause fucking havoc with your neurons or something, because your main character sometimes will just have sort of electrical wiring, sort of nerve endings, like displaying on the screen as sort of a metaphor of how this dude's actually feeling. And he's like, and it feels like he's almost getting electrocuted, and he has to drop these painkillers to make it stop. So, of course, being a noir story, he's a piece of shit detective. Which, like, literally in the first, like, half an hour, two different characters like, you don't give a fuck about the rules, do you? So, you know what sort of dude you're playing it. Some of it, there's subtext, and sometimes it's just text. This game sort of goes a little bit for just text, not subtext, which I can appreciate. But sometimes subtlety is nice.
So wait a second, what sort of game is it? Is it
I was just about to get to that.
Because
I know I've said a lot without saying much.
Yeah, exactly.
It's sort of... Oh, there's another lad. I forgot just on the environmental setup. There's propaganda everywhere about serving society by taking extra special good care of your body. So, like, exercising properly, eating properly, and all that sort of stuff. So that's got that going on. Gameplay-wise, it's kind of a walking simulator.
So is there any combat? No?
Not that I've seen. I played it for a bit over an hour. It's very much a detective walking simulator almost.
I have been interested in this game for quite a while because it just looks phenomenal, as you've sort of described. But I couldn't really figure out what the fuck you were doing in it.
You're a detective. So the first hour, basically, a good 15, 20 minutes of it was sitting in a car making dialogue choices. So there's that. And so obviously in a game like this, there is consequences to your dialogue choices. You eventually drive to a crime scene and you're using different gadgets to investigate the crime scene.
Okay, yep.
And figure out what actually happened here. So you've got a few different tools. You've got a UV light, which most detectives and police organizations have these days. Like the ability to analyze and analyze DNA and all that sort of shit. But the thing that's on the dude's wrist, his name's James Kappa, I think, off the top of my head. So there's a thing on the dude's wrist. It's called a reconstructor. And much like the actual item's name, it can visually reconstruct the crime in the crime scene in different stages so you can investigate what happened. So it's about puzzling out, using the different tools you've got, what happened and where. Only the first crime scene you walk into, seemingly people want to cover it up. And you're like, fuck that, this is bullshit. And then your friend, who's also your boss, goes, fuck you, you're going to report it as this, we don't give a shit. Okay. So the forensic, so like I said, it's sort of one part walking simulator, one part dialogue puzzle, one part investigative, like forensic investigative, not simulator, because it's definitely not simulating any real forensics. And then I got, the last part I did was get back to my apartment and lay out an evidence board where I was picking up, it's like another hex-based grid, and you're trying to convince the handler you've got, whose name is Sarah, you're trying to place the evidence to convince her of what's actually happening. Because she's like,
Okay.
yeah, we ain't got shit for evidence. We can't prove this, blah, blah. And you're like, no, we got this.
Mm.
Which for me was just a bit of, I don't know what it wants. I'm just going to pick shit up and place it and hope for the best.
Yep.
There's a Firewatchy element because obviously there's two characters interacting pretty significantly through this radio. But it's very much this noir, sort of futuristic noir detective story where you're trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. I don't know too much about the full broader story yet because I literally finished it once I finished the crime board in the apartment. And I'm like, all right, time to do something else. Or time to have dinner, I think it was. So I'm going to play a bit more of that. Or I'm going to play, it's apparently quite short, like 5-6 hours. So I'm going to finish that probably this afternoon after we finish recording. I did hit a great bug where I was getting the same tutorial message every 2 minutes, which would cut in and force me to like actually hit the enter key to go, yes, I get it, fuck off. But it's really quite interesting. It's written really well. If you like, I suppose if you like your noir or you like your fiction to be a little more subtle and maybe your puzzling to be a little bit more subtle, because apparently it like hits you over the head with puzzle hints and shit like that, which sometimes I need because my puzzling isn't as great as my prose writing, as it were. But yeah, some people were bitching about that. But for me, like sometimes just having it as text, not subtext, is kind of nice. And there's that sort of exaggerated element where it's like, oh, this dude really is just a dumb piece of shit, isn't he? And he kind of is. He's kind of a piece of shit. And he's very much treated as such in the game. Not necessarily in a funny way, but very much treated as such. But I dug what I played for the first hour or so.
Yeah,
to the point where I want to get back to it. It's
you're kind of selling it on me now. So I've been, as I said, I've been keeping an eye on this for a while to see exactly.
Yeah.
But I just wasn't really sure what sort of game it was. Other than I knew it had what you sort of talked about, but there's some parts of what I'd seen. I thought, is there combat in it? Because I'm not really games that have combat. They turn me off big time at the moment. I don't really know why. So I just don't want a game with combat in it.
Pacifist.
Yeah, not necessarily that. It's just that I think I got to the point where combat in most games from game to game is the fucking same thing. You're shooting at an enemy. It's either going to take 3 bullets to take down off a fucking full clip, and that's kind of it. It just bores me basically, effectively. Yeah. But yeah, this is as it looks. So, I'm looking at a video now on Steam here. It looks fucking phenomenal.
It looks fucking incredible.
It looks incredible. So yeah.
And it runs super well too. It doesn't seem to have ray tracing, but the lighting is still really, really nice. It's run, like I said, really well. I haven't hit any combat yet, but I'm a bit over about an hour and a half in.
Looking through some of the discussion forums, I don't think there is any, from what I've seen.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Also, I don't know if people need to be told this, but try and avoid discussion forums in some instances.
No,
because there's a 12-page fucking topic for this game, where it's like, if this game worked, I don't want to buy it if it's worked. Yeah.
Every game's got that.
Yes.
Christ, fucking the plucky Squire had it the other fucking. Oh, you got to be kidding me.
Wait, really?
I'm pretty sure I saw something in there about it being this game.
Oh, I fucking hate the internet.
I'm pretty sure I saw it.
That's not true, but I hate most people on the internet.
I'm pretty sure that's what I was reading the other.
I don't want politics in my game. Yeah. All right, you're inherently making a political discussion by a political stand by actually saying that, you dumb motherfucker.
Ugh. Yeah, there it is. God, is this game woke on the first fucking page of the Plucky Squire Steam discussion?
Oh, get fucked.
Yep. As I said.
Fucking hell.
And sometimes it's hard to know if that's people trolling because that's the thing everybody does, or whether it's a legitimate thing from their perspective. But oh Jesus,
it's about 30% trolling, 70% genuine.
Yeah,
I don't like woke.
Yeah, that's Jesus. It's
mental illness, this and mental that, gender mental this and that.
It's just so irritating that.
I wish those idiots would just run themselves headlong into a meat hook. There is a Cannibal Corpse song called Meat Hook Sodomy, which is a great name, but moving on. Yeah, this is fucking great. Like I said, I might try and finish it after we finish recording, because if the reports are what they
it
are,
is.
then I've only got 4-ish hours left of it.
Mm.
But yeah, that's sort of where I'm at right now, as far as playing games.
Mm.
I'm literally weekend and Monday, the holidays start. Well, it's a public holiday over here on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So I might use that as an example to do a catch up of Friday Night Fun, and to again kick the tires on the upgraded internet.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, 2 weeks of holidays. I've got an idea of what I'm going to play, but it's literally just okay. Release date. So I could play like 14 games for the next podcast, or I could play 4.
Mm.
Who's to say? That's what I've played.
Alrighty, let's then talk about, before we get into the beginning end, let's talk about the games we might be playing in October.
So I probably should have asked this before we recorded. Am I streaming this to you again, or are you?
So go find the page on the site.
Right.
And I'll click back to you.
Oh no, I've got to log in. Password entered. Yep. Upcoming games. October.
Click on the podcast.
Do you still have it?
Yeah, click on the podcast. Click on the link top left, podcast view one. That one.
There it is.
That one there.
There we go.
There we go. And back we are.
Hooray! Numerically, October a little smaller.
Yeah, not many.
Not as much. And it should also be said that I went through and added a bunch of these after I did some game linking to some of the Friday Night Fun episodes. And 1 or 2 of these games, I kind of forgotten what they are, but moving on. The ad, God damn it, that giggle fucking distracted me, you prick. Fucking threw me off, you weird little. The Axis Unseen. Now, we don't have a specific date for that. That's October of this year, obviously, because it's in our upcoming games for October. Kind of looks like Blacktail from last year, which was sort of a puzzly walking simulator with a bow and arrow, which had like the tale of the Baba Yaga, but not John Wick Baba Yaga, the actual Russian folklore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Simulator, adventure, indie are the sort of labels that are placed on it by the internet. So we take all of our, much like a certain other podcast that has way more than us, or way more followers and way more money, fuckers. We got most of this information from the Internet Games Database, and we use their entries for this.
Yep.
So shouts out to them.
Yep. Well,
I actually go in there sometimes and add in fucking release dates and shit, because sometimes they don't match up.
Yes, we had. Thanks to that community, we should say, not to that site. That's
fucking A.
That's a community-driven, like a
yes,
internet.
much like Wikipedia.
Yeah, but Wikipedia, so it's all community-driven stuff. But yeah, sometimes stuff is wrong, so I might occasionally go fix a date or set a release.
That's most of what I do.
From
the Steam page has the date. I'll add it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So the Axis Unseen looks like it could be really, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
It has that real sort of weird, fucked up. Sort of like I said with Blacktail. Hopefully it sticks the landing, but we'll see. Kill Knight very much seems just basically here's a dual joystick shooter. Go and fucking shoot shit. I hope it's not a roguelite or like. I'm getting fucking fed up with those. To the point where I'm borderline actively avoiding most of them at this point. Which, hey, that's weird for me, seeing as I used to really like those games. Oh, and it's coming out of Australia too, by PlaySide. Go Australia. Anyway. Here's a big one. Diablo 4, Vessel of Hatred, the DLC for Diablo 4 coming out on the 8th of October. You haven't even finished Diablo 4. So
no, good, no. I'll give that to one day.
Yeah. I might go back to it for this.
That game has changed so much since I played it, and for sure it's going to be buffed and debuffed and buffed again. So God knows what it is now. But every now and then I see articles on what they've done to it, and I go, okay, that sounds like it might be worth getting back into, and I never do.
I lost a lot of time on that on the initial release up until the start of Season 1. I played a bit of Season 1, and I'm like, I'm done with this. Like, some of the changes they made in the lead up to Season 1, I'm just like, fuck this. And I haven't gone back because there's a lot. I don't know if you know this, Graham. A lot of games to play.
So you say.
The Bloober Team remake of Silent Hill 2 comes out on October 8th as well. I put this in here because, number one, the Capcom remakes of the Resident Evil games have been fucking incredible.
Mm.
And there's a lot of reverence on the internet for Silent Hill 2. But there's a lot of people also shitting on Bloober Team, basically going, they are going to fuck this up. The question becomes, are they going to fuck this up and how badly? Who can say? But I really like that. Like I said, I really like those Capcom ones. Obviously not the same developer or publisher, but it is still a revered survival horror franchise or game from back in the day that's coming back. So here's hoping. Neither. Never? I don't know.
Neither, I suspect.
Yep. Devolver coming back at it. Fucking goddamn it, Devolver's great. Oh man, that's now I've just bummed myself out for like the third time since we've been recording, thinking about the Annapurna situation. But anyway, this is the follow-up game from the developers of Gris, which was a sort of dreamy, platformy, narrative sort of game. This has a bit of puzzle elements to it, but it doesn't look too overly complex puzzle-wise. You play as like a fantasy fox or deer kind of thing. I don't know. It looks really nice in the trailers and stuff, so we'll see how that sticks to landing. A Soulsy type thing, by the looks at least. Unknown 9 Awakening. This has looked really good when it's been shown. Coming out of Bandai Namco. So maybe that might get a run during the Xbox TGS thing during the week. October 18th. That's my brother's birthday. Another sort of action slash, I don't know, maybe if it's got the Soulsy elements, but Flintlock didn't really seem to stick the landing. Stray Blade, although it did come out very well, I'm hoping for a PC port of that, and god damn it, do I want a PC port of Astro Bot. Oh, Astro Bot looks fucking incredible. Hey Graham, remember Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? So this is a arcade style beat 'em up, based on the newest version of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which is derived from the Seth Rogen produced animated film from last year. Because you can see in the key out there, it might be seeable. Donatello wears glasses persistently. I don't know, man. There's like the possibility for beat 'em ups like this to be good.
Yeah.
And there's been great Ninja Turtles games in the past. But, I don't know. I have no idea if this is going to come out good, but it looks... You put the words Hot Wheels, Monster Trucks, Stunt Mayhem in a fucking title, I'm going to be like, let's go. Although it's coming out from Game Mill, so that probably means it's going to be shit. That's fucking disappointing. I don't know, man. The two Hot Wheels Unleashed games people really liked. I just haven't gotten to the second one's on Game Pass, but I don't know. I just haven't gotten to it. So maybe Monster Truck Stunt game could be really great, or it could be fucking terrible. I don't know. Who can say? The first Call of Duty game I'm actually probably going to play a decent amount of for quite some time. Maybe. A, because I played the beta and it was fun. And B, it's on Game Pass, so I don't have to spend $150 for it. So that helps. I will re-emphasize, I guess, I did enjoy that beta and the way in which, like, the sort of inherent design of the actual gameplay, like that time to kill and the movement elements and stuff like that. That surprised me.
I'll just play this for the campaign and then that'll be all I do, but yeah.
Yeah. Did you play the Modern Warfare 3 campaign?
I did skip one of it. I can't remember which one it was.
Might have been that. Well, Modern Warfare 3 was last year's one.
Yeah, so I didn't play that one at all. Yeah, because the campaign, they didn't have one, did they? Or did they?
Yeah, in last year's one they did.
Yeah.
It was one of those ones where Activision were like, we're going to take a year off. We're not going to put a new one out, following on from the new version of Modern Warfare 2. And then they were designing it and doing all the work, and I was like, oops, it became a game on its own. Oh, fuck.
Okay.
Because of course it is. It's fucking Activision. But Activision under the Microsoft label. So who can say? Post-Trauma, independent sort of survival horror-y type game coming out of published by Raw Fury. Developed by Red Soul Games in Spain. I don't know. Look, it has a really interesting and quite cool look to it. So I'm hoping it's again much like. So I've like Signalis and other indie survival horror games have been really quite good, and Dead Space was fucking incredible. So maybe this can live up to it. Maybe it probably won't. I don't know. I can say high pitch voice. I can't go any higher. Next, Life is Strange Double Exposure. An actual sequel and an actual follow-up to the original Life is Strange with Max, who was the main character in the first Life is Strange game. So they're actually following up her story. I'm very interested to see where that goes, because I really like that first Life is Strange. It could be great. Dragon Age the Veilguard. Previews have been hitting for that. Some outlets were given like 7 hours to play the game. And I was seeing stuff like this is the Dragon Age Mass Effect 2.
Yeah, I've not seen a single one that's been negative so far.
No, yeah.
They've all been quite positive on it, so it looked like they might have actually got this one right. So this one,
and it looked pretty good in the trial. I liked the way it looked.
I like the look.
Some people were like, eh.
Yeah. I like the look of this one a lot. I think this game has potential to be clearly has potential to be a good game, no doubt. But also it also the potential to be an absolute fucking flop and just land so badly.
Yeah, BioWare has not hit on a lot of stuff.
No, they're not hit on. Yeah, but I think they might have actually got this one. This one sounds very promising based on what I've read so far, and it'll just be a case of how the game comes out from a technical perspective. I think will be the bigger thing when it comes out, rather than being a PC release. Like, we're mostly playing a PC these days, so it'll just come from that perspective. But from everything I've read about it and I've seen about it, I'm very keen to get hold of it.
I think 7 hours gives you a lot of information about most games. Less so in some regards, less so because does it stick the landing, or how well does the actual full-blown progression?
They're not going to tell you about the story. They can't tell you about that.
Oh, of course not. No, not what I meant. That's not what I meant. But what I meant was it sounds really, really promising combat-wise, playing it, all that sort of stuff. Does it hold up the entire way through? Because there was promise to something like Anthem.
Well, there was and there wasn't with Anthem, but I mean, with this, I think from what I've read and seen, the combat's decent enough, the story's decent enough, it all looks decent. Obviously, the stories are unknown, but yeah, any game, doesn't matter what preview you're going to get out of it, you don't know if it's going to hold up for any length of game. So, but it sounds very promising.
It does.
Is the takeaway from that, and that I think is surprising people. I think because I think a lot of people didn't have any high hopes for this being, decent or whatever. But it looked like they might have actually got it right. So yeah.
Given the amount of time it's taken and what BioWare has done recently in the last few years, yeah, definitely. And the last one I've got is a shooter called Redacted. The name's not redacted, that's just the name of it. October 31st, same day seemingly as Dragon Age the Veilguard. I believe it's a sort of 3/4 top-down dual joystick shooter, though, not the first-person style shooter. Obviously not an exhaustive list, because trying to do an exhaustive list would take fucking 8 hours. And sometimes indie games get a release date and then out in 2 weeks. Like Parking Garage Rally literally just had that happen. 2 weeks before it came out, they said, hey, it's coming out. So it wasn't on our September list, but it's literally out now.
These are the games that pique our interest in a particular release window or month. So,
yeah, like I said, not quite as voluminous as certain other months have been. But hopefully the ones that we're interested in.
Yeah, there's some potential good games in there, that's for sure.
For everyone talking about how much this 2024 wasn't going to be the best of years for games, holy fuck. Although I will say, I've got heaps of games that these are great, top 10 games. There haven't been as much that have gone, this is a bang-on easy game of the year yet.
No, I haven't. Yeah, correct. I agree with that too.
At this stage, the closest to that is
Plucky Spire could be that for me so far.
Well, I mean,
So-
let's be real. It's probably going to be. It's probably fucking satisfactory for you.
No, it's not going to be satisfactory. I've played the game for 4 fucking
Really?
years. No, it's not.
I feel
not
like
gonna
it's
not gonna be
1.0
that game.
release is like.
No, it's not going to be that game. Well, unless there's other 10 games that aren't that good, then maybe it gets on the list. But it's not a bang on.
10 games better than Brothers. Go.
It's not going to be just because it's come out on 1.0 going to be in my top 10 list or in my top number 1 list. It may well be, but I'm not going to say that sure. I'm not going to say that now, but I mean the Plucky Squire. I mean, fuck Jesus, that's awesome. So yeah,
I need to start that at some point. Fuck my like like when you set shelves in Steam, and like I've got a quote unquote current backlog. Like the list no longer fits fully on the screen. So it's like, shit. Anyway. Beginning and end?
Yep.
Are you still there?
Yeah.
Because I'm only seeing me.
Okay. I'll do that then.
There we go.
Bring it wrong button.
Fuck, I don't think everyone just needs to see full screen me. I mean, don't get me wrong. No one needs to see full screen me. Yeah, twitch.tv/enemy starship. I'll do some stream stuff. Yep, there we go. Yeah, I might kick the tires tonight, or if I don't do it, or when I say tonight, I mean Sunday, the day time of recording, or Monday, the public holiday. And then Friday we'll start a bit earlier than normal, and Saturday I don't know. Solo Factory likely this week.
Yes, I've already got one in the can. Yep.
Perfect. And then next weekend we will do some video recording of some kind.
We will.
Not sure what that'll be yet, but
No
we'll
idea
get
what
something.
that'll be. Yeah, nothing. Not too sure what that'll be.
Core Keeper.
Maybe I don't know. We'll do.
Man, I didn't actually write down any must listens.
No. Okay.
Not because I don't think there's anything out that's good. I think I maybe talked about them, and I haven't really sat to listen to much in the way of actual albums that I haven't said since the last one. But anyway, anything else?
No, I don't think so.
Do we want to touch on the Annapurna shit or whatever before we're done, or not really?
I think it's still going. Let it play out a bit longer. I think it's still.
Yeah.
It's very intriguing what's happening there, but I don't think we know quite enough what's going on there. Let's just leave it for a bit. Maybe next podcast, if it's progressed, the story is a bit progressed, we might have a chat about it. But it's very odd. I think we just leave it at very odd what's happening there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it is. And hey, Flappy Bird's back in a really fucked up way.
In a really weird way, yeah.
Oh my god. How the fuck does that even happen? Okay, you've looked... Let's not... I don't want to stretch this out too long. How in the fuck do laws like this work where a trademark can expire, some prick can swoop in, buy it from the person who fucking created it, and just make it... What the fuck?
Your trademarks aren't the same as copyright, so that's the difference. Trademarks, you've actually got to use them in some way. You've got to use the trademark in, like, I don't know the specifics of Flappy Bird in that when it comes around. I don't know the specifics of it, but trademarks are not the same
That
as copyright.
situation's fucked.
Yeah, so it's not the same as yeah. So if you don't use, that's why Nintendo are so vindictive what they are, because they want to protect the trademarks and bits and pieces of just the name.
Speaking of, they finally filed suit over Power World too.
Yeah, but not a trademark suit. They've gone a patent suit. It's a patent suit. So that's even weirder again. So I have no idea what they're doing there. But
if you see Flappy Bird kicking around, don't buy it, because it'll just fucking probably put a bunch of crypto malware shit on your shit. Fucking crypto bro dipshit fuckwits. I got nothing else. You got anything else?
No.
Sweet. Hey, let's end it.
Okay.
This has been episode 307 of the Should I Play This Game podcast for the 23rd of September. Graham Banks.
There you go. It's been a good one.
It's been all right, bro. It's been all right. We'll be back next week with some video. We'll be back with a podcast in a couple of weeks. I might try and stream and do a talk over of the Tokyo Game Show Xbox presentation as well. That's happening on Thursday our time. So I might do something with that because I ain't got much else going on. So yeah, we'll see you in a couple of weeks, or we'll see you on whatever the next thing is. Bye.
Bye.
Press the button. Kind of want to lean my, like, swing my chair in time with the music, but I feel like I hurt myself. Boom, boom.